Hi guys. Before we head over to the show, I'd just like to say that if you enjoy the content that I produce here and want to help support the show, for $2 a month, you can get ad-free episodes on Patreon. That's patreon.com/heavy metal tones. I'm also available on all streaming platforms and on YouTube. Please do head over to either one of those to support the show. If you feel so inclined, please do email me at heavymetaltones@gmail.com. That's heavymetaltones@gmail.com, where you can request, show ideas, album reviews, interviews, and so on. Otherwise, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
At Amica Insurance, we know it's not just about where you're going, but who you go with. That's why we work even harder to protect what matters most. And as a mutual insurance company, we're built for our customers and prioritize your needs. Amica, empathy is our best policy. Visit amica.com and get a quote today.
Episode of Heavy Metal Tones. Be your podcast host, Tony Evans. This is part 2 of my look into Marillion's emotional classic, Misplaced Childhood, via 5 years of Heavy Metal Tones. So, to say 5 years, that's crazy when I say it. It just blows my mind. But as we said, if you remember last week, if you had listened to last week, hopefully you have, I just talked about my journey with the album, where I come in on it. Basically, some information about the band and recapping on some of the music itself. But this is where this episode this week, part 2, is just where we're going to look really solely deeply at the lyrical content of this album and musical content of the album. So we are, I will recap quickly. Marillion, neo-progressive rock band from the 80s, still going today. They had 2 eras. They've got the Fish era and the Hogarth era. Hogarth has been with the band for 37 years. It blows my mind to think about that. Fish was with the band for 10 years, and they released what I would consider the greatest albums in that Fish era period, because that's my era. It's my period of the favorite. It's my era of the band, like Genesis with or without Gabriel. It's very much it has a very much mirrored um, sort of uh, imagery, really. It's a mirrored history, I should say. So Misplaced Childhood, it's the third studio album by the British band. As I mentioned, it was a concept album. Okay, it was inspired by a brief incident while Fish, the lead singer, was under the influence of LSD. It's also about his sort of a non-linear story of Fish's childhood, things that happened in his childhood. It was produced by Chris Kimsey. This is actually Chris Kimsey that did Killing Joke. I've talked about him before. Brilliant producer. I think this is why this is one of the best produced albums by the band. It's recorded at the Hansa Ton Studios in Berlin. They absolutely love Germany, the band. Well, they did back then with Fish particularly. He was a big fan of Germany. The band is massive in Germany and in the Netherlands and in Europe in general, really. So it was sort of made sense to go record it at Hansa Ton Studio in Berlin. Excuse me. It was released on the 17th, pardon me, released on the 17th of June, 1985. It was recorded March to May 1985, so the same year. It's out quite quickly. It's 41 minutes and 17 seconds long. It's on EMI, has been released and re-released and re-released and re-released. There was a 2017 Stephen Wilson remaster. It's not much different. In fact, it doesn't sound any different. I remember reading the notes in the thing, and he said that very difficult to actually change anything that's perfect. And I think that he's absolutely correct there. It was also listed as the sixth best album of 1995 by Kerrang, the metal magazine that everyone loves and knows. Um, and it was chosen as the fourth greatest concept album of all time by Classic Rock in 2003. That's pretty amazing. The fourth, when you think how many concept albums are out there in the universe. Anyway, the album itself, um, there's a quote here, okay? And Fish says, I was in Padre Bay when suddenly I felt a child standing behind me on the stairs. I knew he was dressed as a soldier and vanished as soon as he entered the corner of my vision. Um, Perhaps it was my muse, perhaps it was the drug. It was enough to propel me into reaming off a large scrawl of prose. Quote, end quote, Fish. It was a 10-hour long acid trip, according to him. Well, um, rather him than me, to be honest with you. Uh, Although, whatever rocks your boat. It's two tracks on the album, side one and side two, which is, I love the way that it's introduced. They had three singles off it: Kaylee, Lavender, and Heart of Lothian. Um, Two of those being big hits, third one being a moderate hit, which is often happens the case with singles off albums. Okay. Now we've talked about the artwork. I've talked about that in the previous one. Let's get into the album itself. So musically, it is. I think it's a big leap in a different direction from both Script and Fugazi. So for me, Script is the sound of a band who have toured the one album and the one sound for many years. Fugazi is an album, still my favorite Marillion album, uh, but it's a much harder, more angular, more aggressive, political based sound. Very much in sort of in the realms of Pink Floyd, and well, I think anyway, it has a sort of Floydian feel to it. Whereas uh, Misplaced Childhood is right back. It sort of takes the best of all prog. It's got um, fluffiness. It's got introspection. It's got um, you know reams and reams of musical imagery produced with a sort of by a band at their peak. I mean, people say that Clutching at Straws was their peak, and I think musically they probably were, but here they're sort of just getting that. They've got that sound. It's the perfect sound for the album they're making. It's round. It's soft. It rains on you. It doesn't. None of the music on this album overtakes the lyrical content or the conceptual ideas. Some concept albums, the music goes. An ELP is a good example of it, or Emerson, Lake and Palmer. They're often you're listening to the lyric and think this is amazing, and then the music just overshadows. Whereas this doesn't do that. This sort of balances both together, which is pretty amazing for me. Like it just it's it when you look at the cover and it's got the barefooted drummer boy holding with a magpie on its wrist, and then the clouds and the rainbow and the carnation growing out of the ground, the rose. Oh, I think it's a rose. Yeah. Um, it's it very much is an emotionally soft album, as in you don't put Misplaced Childhood on to rock out to. You just don't. Misplaced Childhood is an album you put on to um to journey through, and often I put it on to relax to, because I think I find it a very relaxing, um, softer album. There are dark moments on it, yes, there are. Espresso Bongo is a good example, but the album itself, musically, I think that Ian Mosley's drumming on this, second album with the band, really, really explores the textures of his kit. You know, the use of toms on this album is just like how he uses the toms, and then I think he uses a lot of uh, he uses a lot of beautiful shimmering cymbal work on here. You know, and then of course you've got the keys. The keys, I think, where they sort of sat in the background slightly on Fugazi, and people might disagree with me there. I think here they they overtake they really, yeah, Mark Kelly's keys, they open up the soundscape. I think this is his album, because this is the album where he really stretches um, his his abilities. You know, Stephen Rothery, of course, you know, shimmeringly wonderful, poignant guitarist. Um, you know, just he's always on point. There's a point where you know it's him on guitar. You know, and of course Peter Varis on bass. I feel um, where on some of the mixes in the early mixes, so the early mix of Fugazi, and to some extent the early mix of Script, he sort of lost. Even as that, you know, that fantastic bass part, you know, dun 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 on Script, it still lost a bit. Whereas here, um, it's in the remaster particularly. Uh, it's the only thing I think I can hear slightly different is the bass part. Tavares's bass. He um, he he goes off. He mixes beautifully with Mosley, but then he goes off in his own little directions. And you know, he's not a root note bass player. He's not one of those boring bass players that sits there and root note, octave down, dum 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 dum. You know, he's creating. He's McCartney-esque in the way he's creating sort of soundscapes around. Being a guitarist, basically originally, and then into a bass player, you can see why he does it. Um, yeah, as I said, it's prettily it's a pretty album. It's a dark album for its content, but it's a pretty album. I don't. It's certainly you can see why that it reached number one on the album charts. You can see why off the back of Kaylee and Lavender and Heart of Lothian, why it sort of it it did trigger a lot of teenage boys. I'm not sure about girls, but certainly teenage boys. um, you know, it became their sort of rite of passage album, you know, because they'd loved and lost at school, they were looking for love or whatever. Um, and this was a kind of a way of saying, hey, I can be soft and I can be, um, you know, emotional, and I'm not going to be embarrassed by it. Although, as I've said before, a lot of times in my past, I've kept my prog leanings quiet. Not anymore, I don't care. But for a long time, I did because it was a dirty word. It was a four-letter word. Is this album really a prog album? This is where Marillion becomes a sort of it dances a a fine line. People say they're not prog. Some people just say they're a rock band. Some people say they're a rock pop band. I think that they are a rock band with heavy prog leanings. That means that they take the concepts of prog, complex musicality, interesting lyrical concepts, um, long form music, and they make it accessible in a way that say that the 70s prog bands couldn't quite do. You know, a teenager in 1985 was not going to buy Brain Salad Surgery, most likely not. But from yeah, and that's an Emerson Lake and Palmer album, one that just popped into my mind, or even Snow Goose by Camel. They're probably not going to, but they are going to. They picked this up because it was available. It's in the charts, and yeah, the it sort of sang to them. I mean, as I said it before, it really sang to me. So we open up with the first track, okay, which is Pseudo Silk Kimono. Now, this is a typical. Oh, I haven't talked about Fish. I think Fish's lyrics on this album sorry, Fish's lyrics on this album, they aren't as wildly verbose um, and and obtuse as Fugazi. They are more understandable and a little pared back, which is, I think, great. Vocally, I think this is probably along here with this album and Clutching at Straws. He's at his peak with the band. With the band. Okay, not with his solo stuff and things like that, but with the band. Um, he really knows, pulls out. He's pulled back from that falsetto high tone from Fugazi that was far too high for him. Even now, he admits to it. And he's down an octave, and he's in a different key, and he's holding his own, and perfect for the amount of lyrics that he's going to spew forth upon us. Um, as always with Fish, when you read the lyrics, you can, obviously, with all lyrics, you can read them into different ways, whatever way you want. They're usually very, very colourful and very, very, uh, very textured. Where some people will use one word, Fish will probably use three, and some people roll their eyes at that and go, "Oh, would you? Why?" But I actually think that he has a mastery of the English language like no other. So, schoolboy rhyming, they might say. He was she and be with me and all that kind of stuff, possibly. But then so did Peter Hamill, who was Fish's biggest influence. And you can hear Peter Hamill in a lot of Fish's lyrics. You really can. And those who don't know who Peter Hamill Peter Hamill was from Van der Graaf Generator. Anyway, that aside, let's look into the first track, which, as I said, is Pseudo Silk Kimono. Now, Pseudo Silk Kimono, again, it's one of those play. It's almost too intellectual sometimes when I think about it, and I get it. Right? It's sort of, if you want to be, you want to, let's look at the word pseudo. Right? Let's look at the word pseudo. It basically means fake or false. So what he's saying is a false silk kimono. Now, this dates this album massively because back in the 80s, um, if you were Lothario in a bedsit somewhere and you were in the city, particularly London, they often would have a silk kimono. You would wear that as a dressing gown, and it often would have a dragon on the back or something like that. Very, very 80s. If you love your British comedy, there's a fantastic thing in Only Fools and Horses with Del Boy's dragon and kimono. Anyway, it's fake silk kimono, right? Pseudo silk kimono. So that it opens up this sort of um, very textured, so it's almost you can hear the smoke rising from the steam rising from the hot street after a wet night and off the water or off the playing fields that as you walk past them, and it really does. It's this really lovely shimmering cymbal work, uh, and I just love the music. As I said before when I mentioned earlier, it really backs the lyrical content. It doesn't overshadow. In fact, it's probably the most perfect match of music to lyric of any album I actually own. I think of Marillion's anyway. And the lyric is amazing. It's huddled in the safety of a pseudo silk kimono. Yeah, wearing bracelets of smoke, and then there's that naked of understanding. So you say, you're sitting there in this fake kimono, smoking away, and not understanding why. And then there's that great. I love the way he spits this out. Nicotine smears, long, long dried tears, invisible tears. Safe in my own words, learning from my own words. Cruel joke, cruel joke. And that's safe in my own words, learning from my own words. And this is a introspective of him, isn't it? He's a lyricist. His words, his bread and butter is what he makes him who he is. And so, he's written all these love songs. Like in um, Script for Just a Tear is a good example. Was all about lost love. Fugazi again is about lost love. And then it's sort of it repeats itself, huddled in the safety of a pseudo silk kimono. This is the lyric that I actually love this lyric. A morning mare rides, um, which means like a nightmare, but it's a morning mare. You've woken up in this sort of probably hungover, probably off a breakup, and you're riding it through. It's beautiful, beautiful lyrical point. A morning mare rides in the starless shutters of my eyes. So he's got his eyes closed tight because of the bright light, and he's living that nightmare or that daymare. The spirit of a misplaced childhood is rising to speak his mind. Right, so he's. I mean, fish, and like all humans, all people, has had a interesting life, and some people will have the ability to reflect upon their youth in a stronger way than most, and he does here. To the orphan of his heartbreak, disillusioned and scarred, a refugee, a refugee. So he's running away from his childhood. He is the orphan of his childhood. And then I love it right at the end in a whispered tone. It says, "Safe in the sanctuary, safe." And then that music carries on. So it's a small lyric, right? But the track itself, um, I think that Mosley's drumming here is beautiful. The cymbal work, the keys are wonderful. It yawns in front of you and takes you quite stunningly into the next piece of music. Okay, so the it's a good opener, right? Because that opens and then it goes straight into the pop song. It goes straight into Kaylee. Now, Kaylee spelled Kayleigh. Now, it's a name that probably didn't exist, I don't think, before this album. Fish made it up. I've met many Kayleys. In fact, I met one about 6 or 7 years ago who was named after this song because her father in South Africa loved this song. Now, the reason that Fish changed the name of the the person was to hide their identity, but also I think just to give it their own to give it um its own sort of self, his past girlfriend named Kaylee, and now sadly that she has passed away of late, and they did catch up. It's in a brilliant documentary. I won't go into that one, but that's a whole different thing. In order to he came up to obscure the original name due to a song being too personal. She still came out. The family still made attempts to, I think, to sue. It is the love song on the album. The whole album really is a love song, but this is the love song. It's the single. It got to number 2. Um, it's quite. I've heard several versions of it. I've heard versions of it pre this album. Um, I've got bootlegs of it where there's a different lyrical version of it. I I have a love hate for this song, okay? Because I love it because it's on this album. I love it because I actually love the song. I hate it because people who are not Marillion fans, who don't understand Marillion, just think of this as a pop, a pop band. They wrote Kaylee. Um, well, yes, but as they did mention, this is two tracks, side one and side two. Very, very difficult to pull a single off of it. They didn't write this track in order to make a single. They didn't go to EMI, didn't go to say make 3 singles. They made this album. As I said, Fugazi had failed on the previous episode. Fugazi had failed. The band were really pushing their limits with EMI. Luckily, that they had someone in the head office of EMI that really backed them, that was into them, and they pulled some singles off. Really, sort of last minute, I think. And this one, was never meant to be a pop song or a single, as Fish said. This is just his love song, right? And of course, it's got all all the bells and whistles of a good pop song. You know, it's got catchy chorus. It's got it's light. It's not too heavy. Um, it it's actually an unusual pop song for the fact that at the time now it'd probably be too wordy um, for the pop songs of the day now. But back then, you know, with all bands like Tears for Fears and so on, they were writing wordy pop songs. You know, and it has this staccato kind of guitar, you know, bit that writes a good pop song. You know, dun 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 dun. It's got a sort of like, you know, it's sort of summer days kind of feel to it. And the lyric, you know, comes. It's got a great solo in it. I have to say, that it's got a great solo in it. Steve is brilliant on this single. First one is, "Do you remember chalk hearts melting on a playground wall?" See, this is where the the imagery that Fish creates is so wonderful. You know, all of us have remembered chalking something on a wall on a school playground at one time or another, of our generation anyway. Do you remember dawn escapes from moon-washed college halls? Oh, so that's, you know, that's your girlfriend or you yourself scurrying away from an illicit night of passion when you weren't allowed to stay or have girls or boys over to your dormitories at college. So Dornick's Gates and Moonwash College Halls, lovely. Do you remember the cherry blossoms in the market square? Again, that's a nod back to Market Square Heroes from in Aylesbury, where they wrote the first album and where the band is from originally. Do you remember? I thought it was confetti in our hair. So this really, you know, for a man that can be overly verbose lyrically, this is a beautiful, beautiful piece of restraint. You know, playground wall, college halls, market square, hair, yes, wonderful. Then you have the pre-chorus. I love this. By the way, and this is where he's sort of like he's talking directly. It feels like he's talking directly at you, as if you're his partner. Didn't I break your heart? Please excuse me. I never meant to break your heart. So sorry. I never meant to break your heart, but you broke mine. You know, that's love song 101, isn't it? It's an easy non non what's the word? It's a fish in a barrel, right? Broke my heart. Yeah, I broke your heart. So I'm so sorry. But the way that Fish sings this, you actually feel it. You can feel his honesty and his sadness in this relationship breakup. And this is then it come into the chorus where we finally first get the name. We get Kaylee. Is it too late to say I'm sorry? And Kaylee, could we get it together again? I just can't go on pretending it came to a natural end. You know what? There's relationships in our lives, isn't there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, where we have had that moment where we thought that didn't end as I thought it would, and I don't think it ended as it should. And I like the way that he's honesty is there. Um, Kaylee, oh, I never thought I'd miss you, and Kaylee, I thought we'd always be friends because they just split and disappeared with each other. We said our love would last forever, so how did it come to this bitter end? Yeah, and then you get the fantastic um, guitar parts by and keys by Kelly and Rothery. In verse 2, do you remember barefoot on the lawn with shooting stars? This is my favorite. This is my favorite verse, I have to say. Barefoot on the lawn with shooting stars. Do you remember loving on the floor in Belsize Park? You know, again, because I'm from North London, Belsize Park's down the road from me, and it was a very posh part of London. I had friends that lived in Belsize Park, and I can always image some bedroom with parquet wood floor, and you know, a pillow and a blanket on the floor, sun coming through the window, making love with the record player in the background. It just, yeah, it was everything that as a, you know, as I got older, when I was 13 or 14, when I first got the album, no idea. But as I got older and I lived with it, these sort of things came more and more to me. Dancing in stilettos in the snow. Do you remember? You never understood I had to go. After that, dancing in stilettos in the snow. Again, there's this sort of seasonal imagery, isn't there? You've had summer, you've got winter. He's using all these imageries to counterpoint the fact that he's leaving he had to go. He had to go on tour, um, and that's dancing. You know, we've had summer lawns, now we've got snow, and he's leaving. So summer lawns, happiness, snow, sadness, cold. You know, or then pre-chorus again. By the way, Did I break your heart? Please excuse me. I never meant to break your heart. So on like that. It goes on again there, and then he says, "This." We get to the chorus. Kaylee, I just want to say I'm sorry, but Kaylee, I'm too scared to pick up the phone. To hear you've found another lover to patch up our broken home. Kaylee, I'm still trying to write that love song. Kaylee, it's more important to me now you're gone. Maybe it will prove that we were right or prove that I was wrong. Love that. You know, he's using his words to repair his broken heart. And he's writing that song, always chasing that song for her. And it seems to me that he always did throughout his entire career with Marillion, that he was always chasing that perfect song for the person he loved, whoever it may be at the time. And that's where it ends. A great pop song. You know, it has um, ups and downs. It's personal. It's got great guitar parts in it. It is a good song, and you can see why it would get to number one. Oh, number two, I think you got two. Sorry, I didn't get to number one. You can see why it got to number two in the charts. You really, really can. I think it was held off by number one by Live Aid, I think, at the time. I could be wrong. Again, I'll have to look into my notes from last week. So, you know, there's the single, but then the album itself has two singles in a row. Okay. Now we have Lavender. So Lavender itself is another single. Now, a single that I would have said to you, really? I don't know if I would have released it as a single. It's quite daring. This is 1985, remember? This is the era of electronic music and hair metal and, you know, all this sort of stuff. And here is a band, you know, mired and anchored back in the past, releasing a song formed around an old nursery rhyme. You know, it's just I think it's perfect for the album. Interesting as a single. It's from the 17th century. It's not a lot of you know, it's not a lot of information um, sort of around it. The earliest surviving version of the song is on a broadsheet printed in England between 1672 and 1679 under the name Diddle Diddle or the King Country Lovers. Um, so, you know, you can see it's, I mean, I remember my mum singing this to me as a young child. And, you know, it's almost not a nursery rhyme, just a song of um, just to calm you. And this track here, it follows musically on really well from Lavender. From Kaylee. Although this one's a bit more keyboardy, a bit more open space. It's a lot less confined in its lyrical content. It's more a little less personal, a little bit more of an ode to. It's sort of thing that you would sing to your lover, right, when you were very young or first together. And I love the way that he's manipulated this old piece of music and kept it alive but updated it. So the music itself is still there in the background, but the band have moved it, and it shimmers. And there's a lyric in it that says shimmers, and I think the song does shimmer. It's actually a beautiful single, and I can see again why it did well. Um, the lyric is, "I was walking in the park, dreaming of a spark, when I heard the sprinklers whisper, shimmer in the haze of summer lawns." You know that. Oh, mate. I mean, I wish I could have that kind of ability. I mean, it's just that alone, that little stanza there. I was walking in the park, dreaming of a spark, when I heard the sprinklers whisper, shimmer in the haze of summer lawns. You know, then I heard the children singing. They were running through the rainbows created by the sprinklers, right, in the summer. They were singing a song for you. It seemed to be a song for you, the one I wanted to write for you. And of course, they were singing Lavender Blue, right? Lavender's blue, dilly dilly, lavender's green. When I am king, dilly dilly, you will be queen. A penny for your thoughts, my dear, a penny for your thoughts. I owe you for your love. I owe you for your love. I love that. Of course, um, that's a bastardization of the song, but they use it. She's using Lavender's Blue and Lavender's Green at the beginning, which I love. And I owe you for your love. I'm giving you this little note saying, you know, you love me and I will love you back. I promise. I promise I will. And I promissory note for a romance, which I really like. Actually, I might write that down somewhere. It's a good note. And this is Lavender's Green, dilly dilly, Lavender's Blue. So he reverses it. When you love me, dilly dilly, I will love you. That's the poem, right? That's the song. A penny for your thoughts, my dear. A penny for your thoughts, my dear. I owe you for your love. I owe you for your love. Um, this is a very simple piece of music, simple song. I love it. Now, they had to extend it for the single version because otherwise it was too short. They just added more. They just put Lavender's Dreams, Dilly Dilly, Lavender's True. When you miss me, Dilly Dilly, I will miss you. So, on the original album, you won't have that. Oh, I'm going to turn you back to you. I'm going to find my way back to you for your love, for your love, for your love. I'm always walking in the park, always dreaming of a spark for you. So they extended it for the single because on the album, it's a small piece of music that rolls into the next. As I said, not really an album you take singles from. So adding little bits and pieces was necessary. Lovely piece of music, shimmering, light, romantic, before the album turns its corner into slightly darker avenues. Then we get Bittersweet. Now, the Bittersweet, as I mentioned before, is several tracks connected. It's a suite, as I mentioned before in the first on the first album. First episode. It's quite a long piece of music. Okay, it consists mainly of Brief Encounter, Lost Weekend, Blue Angel, Misplaced Rendezvous, and Windswept Thumb. It's a 7 minutes and 53 seconds is the suite. I just know it as Bittersweet, to be honest with you, and Windswept Thumb possibly, but I've always known it just as Bittersweet. You can break them down as you need to. Uh, Again, this is where it slightly gets darker, okay, where we start to become a little bit more primordial, a little bit more. He's turned the corner. He's gone from being in love and losing love to the morass of anonymity, as we say, as Marillion likes to say, Fish likes to say. This is where we get a lot of textured music becomes very proggy here. This is where it starts to hit its prog. Because at the beginning you think this is just like a pop album. This becomes quite proggy because you've got all of the wonderful textured drumming, the toms from Ian. You got the aching guitar that sort of just yearns out from Steve, and then the sort of slow primordial bass with Mark Kelly's keys sort of washing underneath. Part 1, Brief Encounter. A spider wanders aimlessly within the warmth of a shadow. So this is spoken, not sung. Not the regal creature of border caves, but the poor, misguided, directionless familiar of some obscure Scottish poet. The mist crawls from the canal like some primordial phantom of romance to curl under a cascade of neon pollen, while I sit, tied to the phone like an expectant father, your carnation will rot in a vase. That, for me, right, is pretty amazing because what he's basically doing is trying to say, I'm sitting by the phone waiting for you to call, and your phone and the flower I bought you or you gave me is dying. But to build that sadness, he's added this kind of, he's made himself Robbie Burns, right? Robbie Burns, like like the spider he had that built that web, right? He's just aimlessly um, wandering in the warmth of a shadow. So like, just sort of, he can't settle. Not the regal creature of border caves, but the poor, misguided, directionless familiar of some obscure Scottish poet. Love that. That's his Scottish heritage. I just love that. But the poor, misguided, directionless familiar of some obscure Scottish poet. Saying he's not one or the other. He's not some prophet or wonderful, but he's just an aimless man waiting for that phone call. And then he builds the background behind him. The mist crawls from the canal. I can just imagine it, like some primordial phantom of romance. Beautiful. Because there's those images, isn't there, of walking down a canal, lovers walking down a canal with the steam rising in the morning, walking their dogs and things like that, to curl under a cascade of neon pollen. A big city. So it's coming off the canal into the big city. I love that cascade of neon pollen. And then while I sit tied to the phone like an expectant father, you can't leave the phone because it's going to go. Just love it. And then it goes from that into this obscure piece of lyric that I've still to this day don't quite get. A train sleeps in a siding. The driver guzzles another can of lager, lager, to wash away the memories of a Friday night down at the club. Like, why? I mean, he's going from first person to third person. I think he's just trying to tell a story of, this bit's called Lost Weekend. So he's trying to tell a story of two types of weekends, right? Is he the driver sitting there drinking lager in a siding? Then it says she was a wallflower at 16. She'll be a wallflower at 34. Her mother called her beautiful. Her daddy said a whore. Really harsh, dark, you know. So, is this him and her? Is he portraying himself as he was the driver, as her as the wallflower? Who knows? But daddy said a whore. It's always been a thing that sharp. It's almost like it stabs in you from the darkness. Um, Almost completely out of place on this album to some extent. Then we have Blue Angel, the sky, and then this is when the music starts to kick in and it starts to become a little more musical. The sky was Bible black in Lyon when I met the Magdalene. She was paralyzed in the streetlight. She refused to give her name. Now, this is to do with prostitution. The Magdalene, of course, streetlights. Not going to give you a name. This is a man. I mean, they were Fisher's honest about it, and most people have been. He did frequent prostitutes and brothels in Europe, and I think that this is him saying it's just he's he's projecting his love of loss from say Kaylee onto this paid by the minute or the hour love affair, right? And then this again is where it gets quite dark. He's now going to um, again with this music babbling behind it. A ring of violet bruises, they were pinned upon her arm. 200 francs for sanctuary, and she led me by the arm to a room of dancing shadows where all the heartache disappears. And from glowing tongues of candles, I heard a whisper in my ear. He is a beautiful poet. I mean, this is painting this picture of this poor woman, selling her body, and she's obviously bruised and beaten by life, to a candle-lit room where they dance, where heartache disappears, so he's no longer lonely for those paid minutes. J'entends ton cœur, j'entends ton cœur, which is I can hear your heart, I can hear your heart, I can hear your heart, and then it says I hear your heart. Um, and I love that because that there's that moment. Let's not be too verbose and disgusting here, but there's a moment in the afterglow of physicality where your heart's pounding and you can hear your partner's heart or your own heart pounding through your chest because a wonderful thing is experienced and energy has been consumed. And then we get part 4, Misplaced Rendezvous. And again, this is, you really hear Fish sort of, he really does become soulful and yearning in this thing. It's getting too late. It's getting late for scribbling and scratching on the paper. And again, that lovely keyboard behind it. Something's going to give under this pressure. And the cracks are already beginning to show. It's too late. The weekend career girl never boarded the plane. They said this would never happen again. Oh, so wrong. Oh, so wrong. So it's too late for making notes, for writing lyrics, for saying sorries. Something had to happen. And his girlfriend has left him. He said it wouldn't happen. Why would he leave it? Why would she leave him again? She boarded the plane and she left. And I like the way it's a plane because it makes it um, stark, gone. Not getting a car drive down the road, not on a bus, not walk away, a plane. That is a good metaphor for distance. This time it seems to be another misplaced rendezvous. This time it's looking like another misplaced rendezvous with you, the parallel of you. So, it we didn't meet up again. It didn't happen. It was misplaced. We were meant to meet and it didn't meet. The parallel of you. So it's a misplaced rendezvous. So a meetup didn't happen with someone who was different to who you think she was or he was. Brilliant, brilliant. Then we get windswept thumb, and this is where the music starts to get upbeat. And I again struggled as a teenager to understand this imagery. It took me years to really get it, and it's really nice because it's the keyboards going underneath it. On the outskirts of nowhere, on the ring road to somewhere, on the verge of indecision, I'll always take the roundabout way. It's again a great way of describing someone's inability to just be one directional. It's all about rounds and circles and coming back to it. And I'll do it tomorrow, and I'll get there. Waiting on the rain, for I was born with a habit from a sign, the habit of a windswept thumb, the sign of the rain. And he goes, rain on me, Now, uh, waiting on the rain, I think that's us telling us that he's just waiting for the sadness to come. I was born with a habit from a sign, the habit of a windswept thumb. So, windswept thumb, those that don't know what that means, it's basically um, it's thumbing a ride. It's getting a lift on the side of the road, right? Putting your thumb out. And it means that you don't have a means of getting anywhere, don't know where you're going, but are going to get there somehow. And that's what that is. That's what Fish is saying. He just hasn't got a direction. It's a habit. He just keeps being directionless. And the rain is a metaphor for sadness. Rain on me. And then it says it started raining. And it's it, a brilliant little piece of lyrical genius right from the beginning. 7 minutes, musically beautiful, not verbose, dark, but then it also becomes lighter. Great guitar, brilliant drumming. It's this is really for me Fish's album. And then we get Heart All Over You, the third and final single from the album. I have this, of course, on cassette. I have it on not cassette single, sorry. I have it on 12-inch and 7-inch and picture disc. It's one of my favorites. Uh, itself, it's again, this is, if you hadn't already known that Fish was Scottish, this is another little suite of music. Opens with Wide Boy, then you've got Curtain Call, right? And Fish has always been very, very, very proud of his Scottish heritage and his background. We get that here. This is telling you a sort of autobiographical of his youth. He was raised in Haddington, which is in the centre of Scotland, but near Lothian. And this is where this is a great rocky single. Again, weird single. I can see why it got to 30. It only reached 30 in the charts. It's sing along. I think they were just trying to find songs off the album that are sing along, and this is, one of them. But it's dark and it's out of context. It doesn't make sense as a single. You do need it in that album context because he's talked about misplaced direction. Here we go. Wide boys, born from the hearts of Lothian. So a wide boy is is a boy of the streets. He's a lad, right? He's a hard knock guy. He's he's a geezer. I never imagined Fish has ever been one of those, although I wouldn't want to cross him. We were wide boys, born with hearts of Lothian. These hearts of Lothian. Again, hearts of Lothian. It's a place in the centre of Lothian. I think it's a park with it. I'll just double check that, but I'm sure that's what that is. Yes, Heart of Lothian, full name Heart of Midlothian, refers to a famous heart-shaped granite mosaic set into the pavement on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, Scotland. It marks the site of the historic Toll Booth prison, inspired a famous St. Walter Scott novel, and represented deep local Scottish pride. So it's talking about his pride of being Scottish. It's also using the heart as a motif. Very smart. And being Midlothian, of course. And then, of course, the music ticks along and rocks in, and it's not a rocky song. It's a great pop song, but it's dark and it's quite angular. It's 6 o'clock in the tower blocks. Stalagmites of culture shock. Oh, I love that. Because in the 70s, in the 60s, in the 50s, those 3 decades, they built these horrible tower blocks to put people in because they thought that was a way, after the bombings and the destruction of London, that's the way to house people, when it wasn't, because it created a monoculture of violence and shock and anger. And I love that. It's 6 o'clock in the tower blocks, stalagmites of culture shock. And the trippers of the light fantastic bow down, hold down. So, there are people partying in these wild books. There are people taking drugs in there and they're tripping away. Spray their pheromones on this perfume uniform. So they're getting ready to go out. They're in the tower blocks. It's a Friday night. They're going to go out on the town. And anarchy smiles in the Royal Mile. And we're waiting on the sly boys, fly boys, wide boys, rootin' tootin' cowboys, lucky little ladies at the watering holes. They'll score the Friday night goals. So no, it's not it's not rocket science. He's talking about going out on the pool, right? In a town where he grew up as a teenager, right? In Lothian. This is it. This is a wide boy, he's a fly boy. Lucky girls, eh? We're gonna not the fact that they were lucky as boys, but no, lucky girls says it all really. I was born with a heart of Lothian. That's the chorus, and then we get curtain call, and um, this one was a bit odd. Again, I remember thinking, out of context, what's this doing on a single? Um, and I love the way he really pulses out vocally. And the man from the magazine wants another shot of you all curled up because you look like an actor in a movie shot, but you're feeling like a wino in a parking lot. How did he get in? How did I get in here anyway? Do you really need a playback of the show? Because the wide boy wants to head for the watering hole. Let's go. So what he's saying is, he's now famous, right? And you're hungover, and you look terrible, and you're feeling terrible, and people want a bit of you. But you say, how did I get here? How did I get to this point? Do you really need me to show you how I got here? He's saying, do I really need to know? Because all I want to do now is get up and go out and do it again. Let's go. And then please and then right at the end, there's this sorrowful piece, and I often find myself quoting this, and it's like, and the man in the mirror has sad eyes. So no, he's woken up. He's been on the pool. What have I done it again? My God, I keep doing this. What's happening? I can't live this life. I look at yourself in the mirror and you think, nah, this isn't worth it. What am I up to? All right. It's great, but why in that? I don't understand why it's in there. But we get now Waterhole Espresso Bongo. All right, Waterhole open brackets Espresso Bongo close brackets. Um, this one's a bit rocky. This is harder and heavier. This sits. It's almost like a second suite of music. Um, I think again, the band are at their peak here musically. Most of the album was soft at the beginning of this episode. Yes, it is, but it's also really dark and angular when it needs to be. When the imagery lyrically matches the music perfectly, and it's like this sort of attack in the song. When the taxis gather in mock solemnity, funeral hearses court the death of virginity. Was it paradise lost or paradise found? Did we gain respect or were we holding ground? You had found true love or thought you believed, and the white boys tattooed your hearts upon their sleeves. This is from the female's point of view, okay? The taxis gather in mock solemnity. Love that. You know, you've rolled out from the 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 person's flat that you've just been sleeping in. And funeral hearses court the death of virginity. So you know they basically you've lost your virginity to this nothing wide boy, this piece of shit street urchin, and the cab is the black cab is like a hearse. Was it paradise lost or paradise found? You know, were we? Did you gain respect or were we holding ground? You know, does he respect you for giving out yourself to him, or was it just another transaction? You had you found true love, or so you believed? And the Y boys tattoo the hearts upon their sleeves. You know, so you've given yourself over to him. I think I love him, and it's just another. When they tattoo the hearts upon the sleeves, what these drummer boys used to do, is what the drummer boy motif is that for the people they love, they would draw a heart on their sleeve before they went into battle, and this is their version of a tattooed heart. You know, are you really going to tattoo that heart? So when you think it's time to go, don't be surprised the heroes never show. Yeah, there we go. So they just leave you. You think they're heroes and they're wonderful, and they're just not there. And the patter merchant selling false impressions, tipping eyes at the waitress with American expressions. That's a very UK expression that's very really based around um, um, yuppies. You know, these are patter merchants. These are people that sell things for a living. These are, um, you know, rich town people tipping eyes at the waitress with American expressions. Just love that. Okay. It's a play on words from American Express cards, sort of tipping, giving them money, trying to get them to come over and sleep with them. Tie angels to the bar with street martinis and their charms. You know, so they're sitting on the bar there, talking to these women, charming them away with their drinks. They're lying on every word and every arm. Just falsehoods. They're turning down their noses to the best lines and the cheap wines. So, you know, um, the girls are saying, no, no, you can't get me with cheap wine and terrible chat up lines. And the Y boys, they wear their love bites for their crimes. Just lyrical genius. So when you think it's time to go, and when you think it's time to go, don't be surprised the heroes never show. And then it's just sort of heroes never show. It builds into this, during the song into this crescendo and ebbs out. It's yeah, absolutely. Again, short lyrical pieces, but so textured and layered. You know. And then Lords of the Backstage. Lords of the Backstage. This is a more. This is where he's become fame is arriving. Okay, this again is dark and quite stark in its musical form. It's not a lovey dovey song like you have at the beginning. This is a good album of two halves. Actually, you can see why it's two sides. There's the love side and the lost side, and this is very much on the lost side. A love song with no validity. Pretend you never meant that much to me. Numb, a Valium child, bored by meaningless collisions. A lonely stretch of headlight, diamonds trapped in black ice, a mirror cracked along the white lines. You know, that's this almost sounds like it could have been off Fugazi, actually, musically. It's almost like a leftover from Fugazi. I love that. A love song with no validity, so it means nothing. You know what I mean? Pretend you never meant that much to me. I don't really care. A lonely stretch of headlights. So you the road ahead of you means it's nothing. It's straight and emptiness. Bored by meaningless collisions. Right. So it's just sex, nothing else. A mirror cracked along the white lines, of course. Well, that's a nod to cocaine use. I just wanted to be the first one. I just wanted you to be the first one. Uh, uh, really? I don't know. This is all about loss of virginity again, back from the previous track. I sort of don't quite get that one. But it happens. It works along the song. I love this next couple of lines that the way he sings is out. Ashes are burning, burning. Ashes are burning, burning. A lifestyle with no simplicities. So he wants a more complicated love life. I'm not asking for your sympathies. Talk we never could talk, distanced by all that was between us. A lord of the backstage, a creature of language. So here he's saying, okay, we're splitting up. You never understood me. We never understood each other. I'm now this rock star, a lord of the backstage. Words are my thing. I'm a creature of language. I'm so far out and I'm too far in. So he's so far out of himself, but he's also too far into himself to 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 give you to be in love with you or to love you. I just want to be the first one. It's selfishness, isn't it? I just want to be the first one. And then bridges are burning, burning, bridges are burning, burning. I again love that because these burnt his bridges told you that I wanted you to be my first ever girlfriend, my first lover. It never happened because we didn't meet when we were young, and we've just burnt our bridges now. And I've told you we can't carry on, but probably we could do in the future. Now. It's just, and then it goes bring into this musical piece, this sort of cold and starkly beautiful piece of music. And Stephen Rothery on this part is just, yeah, just brilliant. Again, it feels like it's off of Gazzy. When then we move into Blind Curve. Okay, Blind Curve again is another suite. Part one, vocal under a bloodlight. Um, this is this feels 80s in its production. When I listen to this track, this does feel a piece of its time. Last night you said I was cold, untouchable, a lonely piece of action from another town. I just wanted to be free. I'm happy to be lonely. Can't you stay away? Just leave me alone with my thoughts. Just to run away, just to run away. I'm saving myself. Vocal under a bloodlight, right? So he's saying, you told me that I was cold. This is the breakup. This is the breakup our side of the album, right? A lonely piece of action from another town. So you're just saying that I'm just a piece of ass, right? That's all you are. You just want to be free. You don't want to have commitments. And then I'm happy to be lonely, you're saying. Can't you just stay away? Just leave me alone with my thoughts. I don't need you right now. Just to run away and I'm just a runaway and I'm saving myself. Just getting away, breaking away. Now this could be sung. I think this album could be sung from the point of the woman and point of the male protagonist. Most of the time we see it from Fisher's point of view. In part two, Passing Strangers. Strung out below a necklace of carnival lights, the cold moon held on the crest of the night. I'm too tired to fight. Yes, it's easy rhyming, but it's you can easy rhyme, but you can also make it beautifully rhyme. Strung out below a necklace of carnival lights. Cold moon held on the crest of the night. It's like it's that point of the night, midnight, the crest of the night. And it's cold, and you're under the street lights. I'm too tired to fight. I don't want to fight you anymore. Go away. That's what he's saying. So now we're passing strangers at single tables, still trying to get over, still trying to write love songs for passing strangers. All those passing strangers. This is speaking to their person now. I'm still sitting on the table writing that love songs for people I don't know. I just want to be loved and want to tell people I love them. And the twinkling lies, all those twinkling lies sparkle with the wet ink on the paper. Oh, yeah, just absolutely, just he's telling you that he's a man of words and he can just write lie. He just writes what he wants to hear. Now this other Milo, believe this is a member. I think this is someone they were close to who passed away while they were in the production of this album or just before. And it's in here. Uh, don't know quite uh, why it sits here, but it is okay. Milo. Oh, I remember Toronto when Milo went down and we sat and we cried on the phone. Now, of course, I think what this is saying, it's a way of saying we were connected by this friendship and the loss of this friendship. So I see why, really. I never felt so alone. He was the first of our own. Some of us go down in a blaze of obscurity. Some of us go down in a haze of publicity. The price of infamy, the edge of insanity. I don't know the ins and outs of the death. It obviously sounds like it was a bit contentious. We're saying, he was the first of our own. We knew he was our boy, right? Was our friend in our friend group. Another holiday in, another temporary home, another interview threatened me with a microphone. So then we switch. We switch, don't we? In this kind of weird, mad, manic switch, we switch to um, him as a rock star, alienated. All right. Another holiday in, another temporary home, another interview threatened me with a microphone. Talk to me. Why don't you tell me your stories? So I talked about conscience and I talked about pain, and he looked at the window and it started to rain. So, he's telling this interviewer all he's the darkness and the sadness within him of his music, and the interviewer doesn't care, does he? He looks out, yeah, it's starting to rain. It's a metaphor for sadness, and he just doesn't care, does he? He's looked away and looking at the rain. I thought maybe I'd already gone crazy, so I reached for the bottle and he reached for the door. So I went to get drunk. He left, didn't want to know anymore, and I picked up the sleeping pills crushed on the floor, inviting me to casual obscenity. Do you know that's a very dark line, isn't it? For metaphor for suicide. I picked up the sleeping pills crushed on the floor, inviting me to casual obscenity. So he's oh fuck, damn, I've tried on them. I want those sleeping pills. I want to go. Um, just lovely way of saying it made me sweat. And then there's this beautiful musical interlude, like lovely keys, just typically very much Marillion at their peak. And then we get part 4, Perimeter Walk. This is where it starts to come down a notch, a bit like the opening piece. It would be incredible if we could retrace all the times that we lived here, all the collisions, wasted. I've never been so wasted. I've never been this far out before. This is sort of spoken lyric. Perimeter Walk. I love that. It would be incredible if we could retrace all the times that we lived here. Go back and live those times when we were happy. All the collisions, that's again to do with physical body, I think. Wasted. I've never been so wasted. I've never been this far out before. So, he's drunk so much now. He's in the hotel room and he just wants to remember. Perimeter Walk. There's a presence here. Again, this is quite dark and it's very primordial. I feel it could have been ancient. It could have been mystical. There's a presence, a childhood, my childhood, a childhood, a misplaced childhood, my childhood, a misplaced childhood. And then he's saying, when I've looked back into my soul, I could see that I wasted my youth and didn't do what I could do. And then and then he gets really sorrowful here, and he give it back to me, a childhood, that childhood, oh please, just give it back to me. And then it soars into this great guitar piece, and then we get part 5, Threshold. And here, I think the drugs are really kicking in. I saw a war widow in a laundrette, washing the memories from her husband's clothes. She had medals pinned to her threadbare grey coat, a lump in her throat with cemetery eyes. Right. What happened? This is a love album. It's a story of loss. I suppose you could use that lyrical perception as for loss because she has lost. She's poor and she's lost her husband and she's washing his clothes in the laundrette, clearly. And she's got cemetery eyes, which means, teary, faraway look. I see convoys curb crawling West German autobahns, trying to pick up a war. They're trying to even the score. Of course, because they recorded this in Germany, and this is part of the trip he had in Germany. He sees these curb crawling West German autobahns. They're picking up women. They're starting fights. I'm English, 2 world wars, 1 World Cup, all that kind of stuff. I can't take it anymore. I see black flags on factories, soup ladles poised on the lips of the poor. I see children with vacant stares, destined for rape in the alleyways. Does anybody care? I can't take anymore. So through his grief and loss of love, he's seeing this darkness of the world. He's seeing poverty. He's seeing abuse of youth. Does anybody care? I don't anyway, I can't take it anymore. I want those pills that are crushed lying on the floor. I think that's what he's saying. Hey, I see priests, politicians, heroes in black plastic body bags under nations' flags. I see children pleading with outstretched hands drenched in napalm. This is no Vietnam. I can't take any more. Should we say goodbye? How can we justify they call us civilized? This is an out of place track. This does not sit on this album's story arc. I don't think. I mean, people out there might tell me something different. I just can't see it. It basically is trying to say how sad and how he's seeing the world now. He's seeing bent politicians, perverted priests, heroes coming home from wars, children dying under napalm in Vietnam. Should we say goodbye? You know, do we now just pull the trigger and say, look, I'm done. Here's a bottle of pills. Here's the alcohol. I can't take this world anymore because I'm so sad. I'm just seeing the darkness. And I think that's what it is, if I really want to be honest. I've always thought it was a bit of a strange one. Um, then we get Childhood's End. And this is where suddenly we go up a beat musically. It's tinkly music, it's bright. And it was morning, and I found myself mourning through a childhood, lovely play on words. And I thought I'd disappeared. I looked out the window, and I saw a magpie in the rainbow. The rain had gone, I'm not alone. I turned to the mirror. I saw you, the child, the one that once loved. Now, magpies have been a thing of imagery in British culture for millennia. You know, there's that rhyme, you know, with magpies: one for sorrow, two for joy, three for a girl, four for a boy, five for six, five for silver, six for gold, seven for a story never to be told. And if you saw one magpie, you're meant to say many things. I say, "Good morning, Mr. Magpie. How's your wife?" Some people spit on the floor. Not so much in Australia because magpies here are not the same, but in the UK, very much so. I was always concerned about the magpies around me and what they meant. Um, I looked out the window and saw the magpie in the rainbow. So, you know, rainbows are a thing that never ending. You can never find the end of the rainbow. And the magpie is a sorrow, right? Single sorrow. Uh, so it's a never ending sorrow. The rainbow is never end of sadness. Then the rain had gone. I'm not alone. Suddenly, I'm okay. I turned to the mirror and look, I saw the child and I went, hang on. I did love once. I wasn't always sad, you know? The child before they broke his heart. Our heart, the heart I believe was lost. And then, you know, hey, you, surprised, more than surprised to find the answers to the questions were always in your own eyes. So, no, again, this is very Tommy-esque, isn't it? This is very feel me, heal me, you know, see me, feel me, all that. It's very much a, a, a full journey of adventure. You know, it's come back full circle. You know, he's realized that, yeah, I could control this. Do you realize that you could have gone back to her, but that would have only been retracting all the problems you ever knew? So untrue. It's true. And he's sort of talking back to himself. He's saying, "Go. I could have gone back." And then the opposite said, "Nah, it's not true. It wouldn't have happened. For she's got to carry on with her life, and you've got to carry on with yours." So I see it's me. I can do anything. I'm still the child. So he's going back. Hey, you know what? My life begins again. Because the only thing that misplaced was direction, and I found direction, and there is no childhood's end. Because you are my childhood friend, and it's oh lead me on. So you know the man in the mirror is your childhood past, is your friend. I'll take you on. Let me take you back go into the future with happiness and safetyness, you know? Hey, you survived, he says. Now you've arrived to be reborn in the shadow of the magpie. Now you realize that you've got to get out of here. You found the leading light of destiny burning in the ashes of your memory. God, I wish I could write like that. You want to change the world. You've resigned yourself to die a broken rebel, but that was looking backward. Now you found the light. So, you know, he was going, I'm a rebel. I'm a geezer. Our life plays out. No, it is not the case. You can go forward. You can change it. You, the child that once loved, the child that broke his heart, our heart, the heart I believe was lost. So it's me, I see. I can do anything. I'm still the child because the only thing misplaced was direction, and I have found direction. You know, it's just, yeah, brilliant. Like he's saying, hey, I could go back. Look what's happening. I'm so sad. Everything's broken. I look in the mirror and I go, no, man. No, you are you. You are Fish. You are Tony. You are whoever you are, and nothing can change that. Broken heart or not, move on. Um, love it. One of my favorite tracks on the album. Um, just got a real positivity musically. I think Mark Kelly's keys on this are just fabulous. The production on it is amazing. Um, and then we end with White Feather. Okay, so the end this album on White Feather, and a good track to end it on. This one here, this sort of is biographical of him. This is him. This is basically a little snapshot of Fish. Well, I hit the streets back in '81. I found a heart in the gutter and a poet's crown. So that's when the band started, right? '81, roughly '81. That's when he joined. I found my heart in the gutter because he was always sad, and a poet's crown because that's what he is. I felt barbed wire kisses and icicle tears. You know, fake love and cold sadness. Where I've been for all these years. I saw political intrigue, political lies, going to wipe the smiles of the self satisfaction from their eyes. Because what that is that's his nod back to things like Fugazi and Forgotten Sons. Because he's still a very political person, and I think he was using his music very much like Floyd would to make a political um, con- you know um, point. I will wear your white feather, I will carry your white flag. I will swear I have no nation, but I am proud to own my heart. I will wear your white feather, I will carry your white flag. I swear I have no nation, but I'm proud to own my own heart. So he's saying, I give up. I will take your flag. I'm not going to go into war. The white feather was a symbol of cowardice. I will wave that flag. I'm happy to be a coward because I am happy to say I don't have a nation. I am who I am, and I'm proud to own my heart. So, yeah, coward or not, I know who I am. I can run away. We don't need your uniforms. We have no disguise. Divided we stand, together we rise. It means we don't need you don't need to tell us to stick together. We can be individual. We will wear your white feather. We will wear your white feather. All the children. And then I love this. We will carry your white flag. That's where you have no nations. And then it goes, the Beirut children. We are proud of our own hearts. The Jerusalem children, we will wear white feather. The Tokyo children, we will carry our white flag. The Moscow children, the Washington children, the Munich children, the Chicago children, the Cairo children. The way what he's saying there is um, all these. They're not downtrodden. He's just saying the world's children have their future and they can make their own direction of love, find love in their own way. You can take away our hearts, you can't steal our hearts away. You can't take our hearts away, you can't steal our hearts away. So, that's just saying that all kids of the world will go through this, but at the end when you look in the mirror, you're always going to be you. There's always the end is always positive. And I think this album ends positively with this track. And he goes, I can't walk away. I can't walk away. No more, no more, no more. Can't walk away. I can't walk away. He's no longer going to just go, no, I am who I am. So that itself is Misplaced Childhood. I've spoken for an hour and 15 minutes without a break. Can you believe? I just can't see a point to put a break into it. Uh, I'm sure that you'll pause it occasionally to get some breath. Brilliant. One of the greatest sort of odes to love gained and love lost ever recorded. Has some moments of obscurity and interesting introspectiveness. Lyrically, it's probably one of the greatest Fish lyrics of them all. Clutching at Straws comes close, but this is certainly definitely on top there. Deeply personal, at some points deeply drug fueled and unusual. Musically, probably the best the band ever produced in the Fish era. I think it's dark, it's light, it's airy, it's friendly, it's aggressive, it's textured. It's all of the '70s prog stuff that you really love comes flowing through on this album. It's daring because it was 1985, and it was a way of showing the world that this kind of music could evolve. Prog has evolved, and this is what prog is in 1985, and how it would go forward. these aren't 26-minute epics. These are short pieces of music that flow together to create one interesting album that really you could not shuffle, you could not put in order, you couldn't take out of context. It has to be heard from side one to side two, all the way through, all 40 odd minutes of it, because I think if you just pick and choose from it, you lose its full journey and context. Thanks for listening to this very long episode and to this two-parter. It meant a lot to me. It's been a long time getting this album out out to the world to talk about because it means a lot to me. And I thought 5 years, well, 5 years, because I think that's long enough for me to do it. So I hope you've enjoyed it. First part went down very well with the audience. I've got some really good feedback with it. If this opens up your mind to how the album lyrically, what it means to you, I'd like to know. Everyone listens to these lyrics and hear something different. Everyone will say something different, but I think we'll come to the same conclusion that it's just an album of love gained and love lost, and self-discovery. But be that through alcohol, be that through drugs, be that through hedonism, sexual encounters, whatever. It's about loss and discovery, and going forward, which is a good metaphor for everyone, isn't it? Anyway, bye for now. Enjoy your week. We'll talk to you soon. Coming up is our 5th anniversary episode. That's 5th year, 5-year anniversary. Unbelievable. Talk to you then. Bye for now, and thank you for staying with me.